No, you mute, man.
How about now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, this StreamYards, fuck you tonight. Anyway, if there is such a thing as a happy Monday, here we are. We survived another one. Welcome to a very, very quick conversation. Open topic tonight, brought to you by Universal Films, Monkey Man. Released in theater, will be released in theaters April 5. I can't wait to see this movie. I wish I could see it with the group of you that I'm sending to see it, and those of you who have given those beautiful long sleeve shirts front and back too, and those massive 48-inch posters still available at the Sci-Fi Center if you want to come by and grab one. If tomorrow's the last day that I will be putting people on the list for the Wednesday screening. Before we get going, I was notified a couple of maybe about 5 hours ago the passing of Ed Piskor. For those of you who are into comic books, he was an artist. He passed away.
Yeah.
Passed away at age 41. Now, before we get started, I understand there were allegations and things that are going on. This show and the fucking internet is not the place to follow through on any of that. Everybody, and you, if you guys have watched this show or seen me anywhere, whether in person or on this little screen, you know I am a huge proponent of due process. Everybody gets due process. It is the thing that separates us from wild animals and people who have the ability to uphold a civilized system. So this show is not where I'm going to discuss those allegations. But I will not do a show not acknowledging the passing of a young man by virtue of suicide. I've read the note. I watched several shows about it today, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. 41 years old. 41 years old. It's just we do all this work to provide resources, to provide the ability for those resources to be there, and you're just met with the reality that there's just some situations that just are not up to whatever help you can provide. So let me bring this up real quick. All right, X-Men and grand design artist Ed Piskor dead at 41. Piskor's passing was confirmed on April 1st and a Facebook post by his sister, Justine Cleves. Piskor is best known for the Eisner Award-winning hip-hop family tree, which he produced in its entirety, as well as for writing and illustrating 2018's X-Men Grand Design. An obituary for Piskor notes that he is survived by his loving parents, Edward R. Sr. and Diane Blazevich. Piskor cherished siblings, Robert Piskor, Justine, Joshua Cleves, and Brianna Piskor, and treasured nieces and nephew Lisa, Calvin, Carson, and Bryn. Hip Hop Family Tree, which began as a one-page semi-regular ongoing feature in the pages of Boing from 2012-2015, charted the beginnings of the genre as well as the moments of the history throughout the decades. The series was collected into an oversized format by Panagraphics, which includes 4 main volumes and 1 omnibus. Individual entries within the Hip Hop Family Tree covered the rise of hip hop as a whole, as well as the rises, careers, continued influence of artists in the industry mainstays such as DJ Kool Herc, the Beastie Boys, Ice-T, and Rick Rubin. Those are all names you've heard on this show for sure. In 2017, Piskor wrote an illustrated X-Men Grand Design for Marvel Comics. A 2-part series served as a historical breakdown of the eponymous team of mutant heroes, its individual members, their adversaries, and many of their greatest struggles. The series is presented at least in part under the guise of being the tellings of Atu the Watcher, who is recounting everything he has observed and learned regarding the mutants of Earth and primary Marvel universe. Piskor also co-hosted the podcast YouTube channel known as Cartoonist Kayfabe, the latter of which grew to nearly 100,000 subscribers on the platform. The podcast typically revolved around discussions about the comics industry, especially as it relates to the artists. The series frequently featured artist-to-artist interviews and industry icons, including Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, making appearances on the show. Pisker and his co-host Jim Rugg recently parted ways, with the latter stating that he was ending his working relationship with Pisker due to ongoing controversy surrounding allegations of sexual misconduct with hip-hop tree creator. So Ed Pisker, born in 1982, gone in 2024. So there's really not much more I have to say about it without getting into things that, in my opinion, it is not part of the show. And to be honest with you, not part of the internet. I will leave this on this note, regardless to the outcome of any type of investigation. The internet is not due process. And once we figure that out, and it doesn't matter whose name it is, I don't care whether I like you or not. I don't care whether I dislike you. I don't care whether I like your politics. I don't care if I don't like the way you live, vice versa. It doesn't matter. All right. The internet is not due process. It's convenient bullshit. But once again, I would hate for anybody, right or wrong, to be, addressed or handled in a way and robbed of their rights of a full, thorough investigation and their day in court just because you didn't like something about them or had some preconceived notion about them. That is not due process. So I'll leave that there, and let's open it up to the chat. But like I said, that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm going to acknowledge the passing of Fisher because I think that's appropriate. But as far as like the allegations and what we think about them, they don't mean shit. They don't mean shit. So I'm going to avoid those questions tonight because this isn't the place for them.
All right. How's it going, Spider-Man?
How you doing, Spidey?
Vince says, so you're finally seeing Godzilla X Kong tomorrow? Okay, have fun, man.
One of my winners. He was one of my winners.
The other night. I can't imagine, if you're going into this expecting, kaiju smashing stuff and beating each other up, it's like I can't imagine you're not going to get your money's worth. So have fun, man. How's it going, Ruth? Droga. Yeah, I saw this with Droga. He's getting a little bit flooded right now because he had a post talking about liking Jared Leto's Joker, and people are just going to town there on that. It's the thing is, it's another. I think also, especially in the aftermath of ZSGL being released, because the Nightmare Joker, which I think that's his best look as the Joker and the best moment we've seen with his Joker. I really got the sense that really converted a lot of people. So
Listen, you are part of the public domain now, and I'm learning this a little bit more and more every day. Is like, try not to let that get to you. Kind of like ignore as much of it. If somebody engages you in a conversation about the merits of what they think about it is, that's one thing. You have the ability to carry on a conversation with them. But if they're just harassing you, they're just white noise. I would just mute them. You know what I mean? It's just like I said. It's not ignoring people, but it's. Listen, you only have so much time on this planet. Don't waste your time engaging people who don't want to have a coherent conversation. But if that's what they're doing, cool. If they don't like to, George Leto's Joker for legit reasons, just preference, that's one thing. You can go back and forth with them as long as you want to. But if they're just people, you're an idiot type of people, like, 'cause I get those all the time. Because I'll put my preferences every now and then. And then I'll be like, well, you can't. You're just one. I'm like, you know what? Here you go with the broad stroke. We're not going to have a coherent conversation. Bam. Next up. You know what I mean? So don't let that stuff get to you, dude.
I mean, it's like, you would think for people telling us to move on constantly, they might take their own advice, but
or at least respect the fact that people are viewing these things from different. It's like Godzilla is a prime example. If you can love Godzilla and not love Godzilla X Kong, and still in that and -1 was the thing for you, and vice versa. But we I'm not getting in a lot of fights with Godzilla fans that didn't like Godzilla X Kong. They respect it for what it is, and that's it. And I respect their it's that's the kind of conversations that we need to have. It doesn't have to be because it doesn't have to be let's turn the key on a nuclear weapon every time there's a disagreement. That's not fun. I'm here to have fun, damn it. Godzilla X Kong told me that I need to have fun. That's the one thing when I left that movie, like I said, I haven't felt that kind of feeling since I left Into the Spider-Verse, not Across the Into Life. I just left that movie feeling good. That's what I want out of every movie I go to.
Yeah, me too. How's it going, Andre? The real question, of course, got all this whole the mystery of Tra, the riddle of Tra, like I'll call it now, is like the riddle of steel from Conan. Oh God, you guys have 500 Tra comments here. How's it going? Fun. Oh God, don't remind me. You want to knock that out on Saturday?
We did go up $30. We're now at $10,230. So I don't have to stare at that same number anymore. I'm so happy for that.
Okay, that's good. And whatever, it was somebody named Rob.
Yeah, a guy named Rob. I don't know how much work, but thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob, for licking, getting me excited. Every bit helps, man. Every bit helps. And like I said, I know we joke. I know we have fun. I know we play some stupid ass movies, and I know we make fun of those movies. And we're trying to make as much fun out of this, this necessity as possible. But at the end of the day, man, it's real. The thing that we're trying to avert, the thing that we're donating money to, the thing that we're trying to gather resources for is very, very real. I think none. I mean, we brought up several instances where it is very real, and tonight is another real, thing. So yeah, scary movie. It sucks. Meet the Parton. It sucks, but what's not going to suck is somebody being available, on the other end of one of these lines when they're contemplating something. What's not going to suck is research in different avenues of, okay, that's not something we figured out 3 or 4 years ago, but with extra resources and stuff, with extra sciences and everything else, we can figure things out. Different psychology, different ways, different methods of attacking this issue. These resources help. So we can laugh at the other stuff, but the serious business of what we've done so far to the tune of $10,230 is real. It's as real as the problem is. So congratulations to everybody who has helped us to that. But let's get to 15,000. Whatever we've done up to this point, we can do a lot more. At 15 grand. I would love to be able to hand a check for $7,000, $500 to the local chapter here, because I know a lot of people in Vegas who need their resources, and then turn around and give another transaction to the national fund that helps every state in the union directly. So let's see if we can get that done, and every bit helps. $30 helps. I wish we'd have done more, but hey, it is what it is.
Man, I know how we can get that done. We can let you play a good movie like The Raid 2 instead. But it's just thought. Andre says, other than paying respects, nobody should be shitting on people who have passed on social media. Yeah, I agree.
100% agree. Yeah.
I watched Knock at the Cabin last night with my girls. We had many cocktails. The film was great. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And William was really big on it.
And it's Dave Bautista's best performance.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. I would say with because he's what has he done that's really stood out? That doesn't involve him punching people. It's
it's a cerebral role, and I want more of that. It's a thinking role. It's a role that makes you feel for him, just like Sapper Morton in Blade Runner 2049. I want him to do roles that make me relate to him, that make me relate or be awed by him. So if I can't relate to him, I want, like Ra's al Ghul, I think I would be like, wow, I can believe you as Batman's greatest villain.
Okay, well, again, he apparently.
By the way, I'm not in the mental framework to deal with the Bane bullshit tonight. I'm ignoring all of that. I'm not. If you bring it up on the screen, I'm just going to go silent. I'm just not there right now.
Well, fourth, he had one I'm not going to bring up here, but dove in on that, so I'll spare you that. Dork Knight says, if we watch the Raid 2, the people we ask for refunds, I absolutely can assure you they would not.
Oh, damn. That's a shot fired.
Yeah, it's a shot fired. But it's also not true. Okay. Because you guys most of you, I think, haven't seen the Raid 2. I have. Okay. So I know what I'm talking about. And you guys are going to get your money's worth. And you're not going to be you're going to come away from that saying, yes, Rad Brad's so much better than Mad Brad, because we're all having fun with this. We're watching this kick-ass action movie that's blended with this gangster crime drama that's in the vein of The Godfather. Okay. It's got all these larger than life characters. They're using hammers and baseball bats as their weapons. Okay, and it's got the best knife fight of all time. And it's much longer than the original. Okay, it's 2.5 hours, but it just flies by. All right, you guys would vastly prefer
You sound like
gonna look
right now.
you're going to look back on all this parody stuff and think like, man, how did we should have listened to Brad. We should have listened to Brad. He keeps telling us to listen to him. We don't do it. What are we thinking? How's it going, Rhea? There's not a parody film called Superhero Movie. Or is that too on the nose? Well, it's
not really, not any more than 300 was.
Yeah, I mean the
right
big problem with it.
We did that.
I mean the only problem with superhero movies is that it's a piece of shit. It's bad, just like all of them are. Clint says, I am awaiting my final scary movie, then wait for Williams to be the next goal. I sound like an Raz says about Ray, like, yeah, fire. Well, you guys have fueled my obsession by the fact that you refuse to let me take you all through a watch party on this epic masterpiece. I have to drag you all kicking and screaming to the promised land. I'm going to do it.
Like I said, I just don't think it's going to make us any money, but all right.
Oh, they will turn around because they will realize the error of their ways. I promise you that.
No, they're not, because like I said, your suffering is the backbone of our charity right now.
Well, if that's the case, then why didn't we get any donations for Meet the Spartans?
Because you weren't suffering enough.
I wasn't suffering enough through that horrible movie.
I guess not. It's not.
Someone had a sweater day with Black Adam training on back and the lightning bolt in front. Asked them where can I get one. They should still probably be pretty available even after the initial marketing push for it. It's the Ruth. What do you thought of Batista's performance? I think the dude is really a great actor. He has a lot of range. She's talking about in
she's talking
Knock at the Cabin, right?
Talking about Knock at the Cabin, yeah.
Let's see. What else we got here? William, the next movie is The Beekeeper. I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah, that should be. I think we're talking about doing that like on sometime midweek this week.
Yeah, possibly Thursday if I don't get my schedule moved around to where I can go to Monkey Man on Wednesday. So if I don't do that, then it's probably going to be on Thursday. Thursday probably in the evening time, so everybody can be there. And I haven't decided. I want to do something for the Patreons exclusively because they support the channel like that, and I don't have memberships yet for YouTube, so that may be a Patreon one that we can actually watch instead of having to have people have to rent it, because right now you can only rent it.
Yeah,
it's not.
We did a watch party for the first one on New Year's Eve because I've been talking about it so much. William, said, "Okay, let's finally do this." So, you guys, we just haven't done one for the second one, and you guys keep not letting me because you're rambunctious hellions, as I keep saying. We got to keep dangling the raid carrot in front of Brad, but never let him have it. No, we're going to let him have it. Or if you keep dangling it, I might bite your hand off if you keep do that too long.
Also, real quick, you guys, if you want to donate to the coffee fund, to the ibuprofen fund, hell, to the damn roof patching fund, there you go. Streamlab.com/Sci-Fi Center tip.
Fourth or Vampire said, oh God, that. And here's the thing about that is like the Vampires, it's so bad. I mean, it basically killed those guys' career. It's like it finally took them doing a not very funny, not funny at all spoof of Twilight for people to say, okay, we're done with Freeburg and Seltzer. I have no idea how those guys got started in the business. I mean, you have to think about the fact that, how many people would kill to be doing what they're doing, and these guys are just goofing around and not even doing it in an entertaining way. No. Twilight was bad enough as it is. No, did you guys ever see any or watch it was the watch party that a Film Junkie and Wonder Meg did for the first Twilight, and it had the perfect thumbnail for it, where it had her kind of like looking all smiley and cheerful, and he was kind of just rubbing his eyes. That's really funny. Go watch that if you haven't.
I remember watching that live.
Yeah, I do. It was like, and yeah. I'll watch Twilight. Oh, God, no. We are doing.
Yeah, we're like I said.
Before we go,
we got to get the donation first, and then we got to consider it, because like I said, we've been hoodwinked a couple times where So where are we at still?
How do you watch the movie together in Discord? Do you pull it all up on your own computers?
What we'll do is do a private. I can just do a private link, like a give you a certain link in YouTube that it's only, you have to have the link to be involved. So YouTube allows for that. So we can do it on YouTube, but it's not the public. So it's not going, or there's a couple of different ways I can do it. We can do it on Twitch as well, to where it's just a private link for Twitch, but it'll just be through the Patreon. So you'll get the link to the Patreon, and that'll be the way you do it. But yeah, I will have the movie. I will have the movie for you.
Vampires Suck is a Twilight parody movie. Yeah, that doesn't make it a good Twilight parody. I thought Freeburg Seltzer wrote Game of Thrones. No, those guys, I can assure you they had no connection with those guys.
They may have wrote the last 3 episodes, maybe.
No, even the last 3 episodes, as polarizing as they are, those guys were not touching. Those guys don't have the talent to touch Game of Thrones with a 10-foot pole. Okay. Those guys, I have no clue how they. I mean, it's like they make it in the business, and they're just their entire body work is just all this garbage. It's like I have no idea how like it's kind of like what you say when you say like if somebody had pitched like the beginning of the MCU with Guardians of the Galaxy as your entry point, you'd say, okay, this is where we show you the door. So it's like imagine like the stupidity of that, and then I mean that's what gets you shown the door. It's like so if these guys. Then imagine like being pitched on something like Meet the Spartans in your studio head. It's like, okay, if the Guardians one, if that's what gets you shown the door, then what happens to Meet the Spartans pitch? I mean, that's like you get thrown out the window.
It's money. Listen, as much as we hate these movies, somebody out there enjoyed these movies. They didn't make $0. They made something. So it's not for me. I wouldn't, like I said, the Meet the Spartans is fucking horrible. I could have told you that. I would, if I were in that movie theater, I would have gotten up and walked out. And I would have lied about, hey, there's a old person threw up on me. Can I have my money back? Something like that. But it wasn't for me. But guess what? There was probably other people in that theaters that were cracking up and laughing. It's not everything is made for me. You see what I mean? I for the life of me, I can't fathom why people go see certain movies. Some certain comedies, like I said, Dumb and Dumber. I have a hard time taking anybody standing in front of me seriously that say that's a great movie. But I have to respect the fact that, that was made for them. It's not for me,
Well, now that you mention it, no, Dumb and Dumber is way better than anything those guys have done.
I mean, that's literally one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Meet the Spartans, yeah. And when you were saying, like, again, we made it 5 minutes.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah.
Well, but you made it 5 minutes, and it was your first time seeing it, right? You made it 5 minutes, and you're like, I don't know if I can take much more of this. I mean, when the opportunity opens itself. Yeah.
Why are we attaching my name to coming to Michael Jai White? I've seen half a movie of him, maybe 2.5 movies with him in it. Yeah. Not that I hate him. It's just not. He's been in stuff that I've been watching, but not really like, ooh, that's him. That's Brad. Brad knows him.
Oh yeah, big time.
I had to stay the fuck off the internet today because people. Listen. People are generally stupid on the internet in general. Now there's like stupid and they're lying. So it's like, okay, what else is new? But it took it up. April Fools, I just turned my brain off. And because there's just a lot of just dumb shit. And, and people are going for it. I'm like, you realize what day it is. Come on. You shouldn't believe these people on April 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, let alone today. I mean, come on, man.
And Rhea says, there's no news that came out today that I can trust. So I guess we're going back to talk about school trauma, which, by the way, Ruth, because Ruth messaged me saying, oh, yeah, I was so heartbroken to hear about what you and William kind of laid out with like past instances you guys have dealt with. And it's like, definitely appreciate the thought, Ruth. But I mean, it's like, I'm not like carrying that like too much now. I think I've kind of compartmentalized that enough where it's like, I mean, I still will not associate with those guys anymore because it's like, I have control, I have autonomy now to have a say in like who's going part of my day-to-day life and that I didn't have back being in high school, because you don't have that when you're in high school. But it is as Bruce Wayne says in his monologue of The Flash, these scars make us who we are. We're not meant to go back and change them.
I don't even call mine scar. I just, like I said, I did such an effective job in forgetting all those people. It's like, the tool that I use in my adulthood too, by the way.
Yeah, that was really what you shared though about the whole getting told you sound white If also the fact you get like getting told that like straight up is like in like a
And
business meeting or something like that is like
yeah,
it's you would think people would have to be more tactful than that.
well, no, like
Like
I said, it's been so accepted that you have to shock people out of that shit. You know, when no one says anything, then no one feels like they have to have tact because they don't think it's offensive until you let them know you need to shut the hell up right now.
But yeah, I did have to. I bet you guys may have seen on my page. I put up a couple. I put up a gift from The Simpsons. Let me go ahead and pull it up right now. This is how I enter every April Fool's Day. I actually did this right after we got off the stream last night. Yeah, this is how I enter every April Fool's Day. I'm on to you. So nobody got me today, thankfully.
Yeah, I mean, and I saw some of the dumbest shit, and I realized, you know what? Some of the stuff in the actual truth that are out there are not that far apart. We just got a lot of stupid stuff that just happens around us, you know.
Yeah, we did actually get a few kind of not really like earth-shattering news stories today. We had a few, and I was expecting like any big news outlet. They're not going to break any like massive story today because they're anticipating people are just going to think it's an April Fool's joke. But we got a few kind of little tidbits. One was kind of interesting that apparently Shazam and Shazam Fury of the Gods and Wonder Woman, they're actually going to be streaming soon on Disney Plus and on Hulu. So it's kind of interesting. A lot of the DC movies are kind of hopping around on a lot of the different platforms right now. And then we also got a little bit of a breakdown. Dan Lin has officially, begun his tenure as Netflix's CEO of their film division. And
the most inconsequential news story of all time.
Well, not to detractors of a certain filmmaker, because those guys were all over it today.
Like I said, this is their day.
It's just so I can't get my head around this idea that it's not even enough for them. That's like if Zack never makes another DC movie for the rest of his life, it will not be enough for these guys. It's like they cannot.
That's their mental problem. See, that's the thing. That's why I don't engage with those guys, because it's not about Zack Snyder. It's about them. It's about what's wrong with them. It has nothing to do with the movie. It has something to do with those people. When you spend that kind of energy to do and say the stupid shit that those people do, it's not about Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's not about anything. It's about them. They're trying to fill something in that's missing in their head. And I always tell people, just don't give them that peace. Don't ignore them. Don't acknowledge their existence. All right, let them go to therapy. Let them get themselves fixed, but do not engage with these people, because that's all they need validation of their stupid ass plight. And like I said, every time you guys respond to these clowns, that's look, I mean something. I matter. I'm like, you matter because you're arguing about somebody not getting the end of their comic book story. And when you recite that to yourself out loud, you should feel fucking stupid. That's my opinion. But
yeah.
But I don't think Dan Lin's going to make one. I mean, he'll do his job basically, but I don't think he's going to be like it's Dan Lin era. I'm like, okay, so
yeah, it's like it's just the instinct that it has. These guys just go into this like state of anticipation where it's like Dan Lin is now. It's like it's like when every time a merger happens, the fandoms gets often accused of like putting too much of their hopes on the incoming CEO to do what they want with the Snyderverse. And that's the opposite with the detractor faction, where it's like Dan Lin coming into, because he made an offhanded kind of chuckle joke about the whole bots thing in this one interview. Now they're putting all their hopes and dreams on him. It's like, okay, he's not okay, so they're not going to restore the Snyderverse, and now also he's going to come in and completely just derail Zack's career at Netflix. It's like, I mean, when are you guys going to be satisfied?
They're not going to be. That's what being fucked up in the head is. Why I don't even acknowledge their existence. I never acknowledge their existence, and I've always said fuck these people because there's something wrong with them. And I just, like I said, it's like I just don't see any. They're not in my orbit. I don't hang in circles to where those people hang. Every now and then I'll see a thread or something like that, and I'll mute it so that I don't have to see the thread anymore. But they don't exist to me. And as far as Dan Lin deciding anything about anything, Netflix is about money. The people who they put in that spot are basically, They work for everybody else that's in the establishment. Netflix is going to do things that makes Netflix, and it doesn't matter who the CEO is. Netflix was making money before Dan Lin. They're going to make money after Dan Lin, and then the next guy, and the next guy. They're not there's a blueprint that they are not moving from Netflix. So I'm not worried about Netflix at all. And as far as the detractors go, like I said, it's like they're like fairy tales. You can believe in them. They're as real to you as if you want to believe in them. I don't believe in them. I put them up there with Bigfoot, Yeti, jackalopes. They exist in my. They don't even exist in the forefront. I don't even know why you let them. I don't even know why you even see them. They should be non-existent on your platform. They should be non-existent.
I got as many as I mute as I possibly can, but I mean, like one in particular who I had a little tiff with a while back. It's like it all started because he decided to jump on my timeline and be a little bitch about it, and I gave it back to him, because I don't, as I said last night, the one thing this whole journey has taught me is not to suffer fools. So
I just don't even, like I said, I see the dumb shit, and I'm in chats and something like that, and sometimes it invariably comes up, and I'm like, oh great, another one of these fucking morons that are feeding off of somebody not getting something. I'm like, I don't have time for you, dude. I don't have time for you, and that goes for anything. I don't jump into anything saying, oh, you didn't get something that you enjoyed. Oh wow, great. That's where I get my inner strength from. No, I mean that just makes you a loser. I don't, and like I said. I am here to be happy. I don't have forever. We don't have forever. We waste these minutes and these seconds on these fools, and Twitter allows for that. And like I said, my long-standing recommendation is just don't engage with them. Let their flame burn out somewhere. Let them find another fool to play with.
How's it going, Aaron?
How you doing, my favorite Aussie? What's going on?
Yes. Area had one. Brad, I agree. I am grateful I had good and bad experiences. I definitely wasn't perfect. It's humbling. I learned a lot. Yeah. There's, we've all had, unpleasant things we've gone through, but it's, it's how you come back from that really matters. And yeah, I could definitely share other, kind of things like I did, with the crutch story you guys heard, but it's like, and I mean, that gave me, I'd be lying if I said, that didn't give me, some, I didn't kind of carry that around with me as far for a while after that, but because it was it wasn't something pleasant to go through, but it's kind of like what William was saying about the these assholes that just can't, their existence is just so predicated, or their happiness is so predicated on what we don't get, or what another filmmaker does or does not get to make. At a certain point, you kind of realize it's like, when you're out of that environment, you've got autonomy in terms of like who you're going to permit into your life. And that's a very liberating feeling when you kind of come into adulthood and realize that's, and that was something that, took me a few years to really realize, even if I wasn't consciously doing it as I was, and like, yeah, this is cool. This is cool. It's like if you're a prick, you're not in my world. So
and it's that easy. I mean, like I said, and I know it gets exasperated because a lot of it is because these guys have made money off of this. They've made their entire YouTube careers off of this, so they can't let it go. But I don't have to see their pages. They don't have to see mine. I'm not. There's a lot of them out there, and I know who a lot of them are. And I'm not going on their page to fight this battle. Why am I going to join a battle that they're having with themselves? Well, I just let them bury themselves. Like I said, you look at my timeline. I don't respond to shit because I don't fucking care about your opinions.
Oh, but speaking of some a response of sorts that you once gave, William Thanos snapped the kid's cord. Feels so good.
The only thing that really taught me is that I can really hurt someone if I lose my temper. So we're not going to do that. I mean, I developed different ways to exist because like you can't do that now. 14-year-old, 12-year-old me that can't, grown ass me, 6'2", 250 is I can be in jail. I have responsibilities that I cannot handle from a jail cell. And I have liabilities and insurance. I don't want my insurance money to go for with damage I did to somebody. So we can't do that in these ways. So a lot of it is just walking away and just not letting things get to me, because the people around you don't define you. The people around you, their responses, The easiest thing is to find a group of people that you trust, whose advice and in an interaction that you enjoy. Fuck everybody else. To be honest with you. And I always made up a term back when I joined the Army. Don't let the you that is you get lost in them, because the people around you can affect you in good ways, but there's more people that can affect you in bad ways. I mean, people, what they think about you, what they think about this, they don't care. And everybody is doing their own thing, fighting their own battle, trying to get through the day, and it's a personal battle. So like I said, I gotta, like I said, it's more important that I keep my cool than anything else, because like I said, I can't afford to have a 12-year-old me come back and nail somebody in the groin. It just can't happen.
Is that how old you were?
Mm-hmm. I think I remember, like I said, I remember I was big enough to, I could have permanently injured this guy. I could have permanently injured this guy, and that would have ruined, my scholastic career from that point on. It's just, and like I said, I think that was the last time, because I'm not a physically confrontational guy. I don't listen. I've been in situations where I've walked away because that was what I needed to do. It wasn't about being scared or anything like that. It was about, I learned this in the Army. Once you light this spark, it is not a spawn that you can control. Once you create a hostile situation around you, you got to understand. I've been in situations where I was in NCO leadership, and we went out to places, and across places, there would be somebody screwing with us. And I remember one situation where there was and I was in Fort Lewis. There was an anti-war person. Obviously, we were in the middle of a war. We were about to deploy for a war, and we had our uniforms on, and we were in a public place. And somebody wanted to start a fight with us. I mean, and somebody was physically, like, trying to see. And I'm like, I look around. I'm with people. I have people that are under my responsibility, and I'm like, even if I wanted to just crush this guy's larynx, I'm creating a situation that puts the people that are with me in an unpredictable situation. You don't know what can happen once you light that spark. Somebody's got a knife. 3 or 4 guys come in there. You don't know you don't know what's going on. Best case situation is we told the manager, we're going to leave. You need to get this person, you throw him out, get away, or we're going. One of us has to go, but we're not going to have this conversation. We were about to get up and leave, and that person was trespassed. And we sat down and we ate our meal. But you have to think. You have to play the thinking man's game, because it's not just about you all the time. And even now, even in a non-military situation, I lose my lid. I crush some guy's skull. Who runs my store? Who gets my store after the lawsuit? There's just a thought process that 12-year-old me did not have. That adult me has always had. So that's all. So the school stuff doesn't bother me. I've unplugged myself from that past.
Yeah. Reyes says, I got better at communicating boundaries when I know I'm uncomfortable. Yeah, I think I have. I think unless you're kind of emotionally sort of repressed, I think everybody kind of does, because it's kind of like it's kind of an essential part of growing up. If you can't set your boundaries, people are wait. What was that? Hold on, one back up. William claims he also starts wars.
No, you start the wars. I'm just here. I am the target and subject of your nonsense. You are the aggravator. You are the antagonist, not me.
By the way, what is this thing here? Okay, because Fourth says, Brad, you missed a golden comment, so I think that was one of them. But what is this? Are these? I can't tell if they're peanuts or Band-Aids.
I don't know.
This is an emoji here.
Are they gold coins? Are they gold coins? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the poor kid then said, dude, we're okay, so I guess they are nuts.
They are nuts.
Okay, we got to stop talking about geeking people the nuts, though, because people are...
Yeah, like from 30 years. I mean, what are we talking about? 1980s and stuff. Like, what the hell?
I don't want new viewers to necessarily come in here, landing on that story as our first thing we see with us. Let's see. Spy Mr. Griffin. Yeah. Well, of course, we started out with talking about Godzilla X Kong, and then we took a bit of a left turn with talking about personal stories that were sort of semi-traumatic, in childhood and adolescence, and so yeah, it was a bit. It was. I don't know how like we went from one to the other, but it happened. But I
I
mean,
don't
sometimes.
know. I never do. I watch these shows and figure out where did this show turn. Ah, there it is. It's like
I think it might be the Tra thing, and like it'll do.
I don't
Uh,
even know what the fuck that is.
uh,
Todd McFarlane.
oh yeah. Oh
Todd
hell yeah.
McFarlane, without a doubt, Todd McFarlane.
Oh Todd. I mean, it's like he was because he was the first artist, like really, his if you go back and read a lot of his illustration on Spider-Man, yeah, and like read a lot of the comments he's made about it, like he made them, his mandate was as soon as he's got the suit on, he's illustrating him like like an anthropomorphized spider. I mean, that's
Yep.
where you get like all the like really all the poses, all the different kind of iconic Spider-Man shots that are so associated with him. Shot well, like when did he start hanging upside down with like his feet together on the web? Was that McFarlane? Was that before that?
That was Ditko, and Ditko got a lot
Yeah.
of his inspiration from Steve Ditko. Or
Okay.
McFarlane got a lot of his information from
Okay.
I actually asked him in person, like 33 years. At a first Comic Con that I met him with, he was explaining this is when you could just walk up to Todd McFarlane. And it wasn't this was pre-spawn. This was you could just walk up. He had a badge on, and that's how you knew who he was. Because back in the day, we didn't necessarily know what they looked like, believe it or not. Like now, you see Todd McFarlane and all these guys and Rob Blake, you know what they look like. But remember, we had like caricatures and things like that they would draw themselves. We didn't necessarily have a picture. Like I would walk up to Chris Claremont or John Byrne, and you wouldn't know it was Chris Claremont or John Byrne unless you knew that they were sitting at the Marvel booth with their name saying, "I'm John Byrne" or "I'm John." In some cases, Frank Miller just said, "I'm Frank," but we had seen him on the news before because of Dark Knight. So when I met Todd McFarlane back in '89, he's just standing there. He's just standing there in the middle of the convention hall, and you walked up to him, and we were just sitting there talking to him, how what's your inspiration and everything else, and that's where he signed that comic that you guys see, that version of it you guys see at my store. He signed Amazing Spider-Man 3, and it had just come out that month. And like I said, my sister. My first year we opened up, my sister sold it. She was working for me at the time. She sold it, she sold it for a good chunk of change. I wasn't mad. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to Comic-Con this year, and I never got a chance because I just got busy. And like I said, and then 3 years later, I get that same fucking comic book, and I get to that damn convention, and I make that shit happen. And like I said, as wild and as crazy and as fun as that convention was for 4 days, and all the people I made and all the connections I made, it was that one moment, getting that thing signed and getting that selfie in the same exact spot that I did 33 years ago, that made that convention. That's like the defining moment of that convention for me. So every time I look at that on my wall, it's like I'm so happy about that. It's just TBR stuff.
God, yeah. Let's see. What else we got? There's one up here. Todd is a legend. John Review. Yeah, absolutely. McFarlane giving up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he seems pretty determined. He's been trying to get this thing off the ground. I remember when the first time I interviewed Michael J. White, I asked him because that was during like when McFarlane kind of entered the like when he was making a push for it. Like, no, seriously, it's like we're really, really gonna get the Spawn reboot off the ground.
Well, it's in Blumhouse's hands now. As long as he understands that it's a Blumhouse thing, now he needs to let Jason Blumhouse do his thing. I think that's where you're going to get this movie made.
Yeah, because they can make it for like $1.50. But
and they can get the most out of it. They can actually, I think they are going to be able to translate what he wants on there for him, and I think that's what he's looking for.
But when I asked Mike about that, and saying, was that something you would be interested in revisiting? And Mike said, like, yeah, Todd's been saying that since the first one came out. So he's if you've seen other interviews where he's talked about Spawn, because he gets asked about it a lot, because as he played Spawn, so he's definitely very much a doubting Thomas on this coming to fruition anytime soon. And I've kind of been there. I've kind of ended up with there with him. But the Blumhouse thing, does maybe a little bit more hopeful, because it is very they know how to get they know how to get the most bang for their buck.
I think that's in pre-production now. I don't think it's no longer in limbo. I actually think that's a movie. Or hold on. Because I actually think that we're no longer it's no longer a Well, this may or may not happen. Hold on for a second. Spawn.
No, no, I'm sure one or two people might, but it's like no, we don't get like a 4-day. We don't really get like a holiday weekend per se, over here for Easter because it's on Sunday.
Nah,
So
most places are open anyway. So.
yeah, I mean the closest thing for me was that my dojo was closed on was closed on Friday. So that was it. But I mean that's about it. Like a lot of most other establishments, yeah, they're going to be but we don't. One thing also I find, it's kind of the thing you discover American meeting like people from Europe or other countries. Like you guys get a lot more vacation time than we do.
Okay, so no, this is happening. Yeah, it's no longer. It's no longer. It's in development now. It's in Blumhouse's hands. It's in development.
Okay.
And this is as of March 1st, 2024. Yeah, Jason Blum has been tight-lipped about it, but he's always tight-lipped about his project. That's he's old school that way. So yeah, I can't. I'm a believer in Blumhouse. Now, big budget, small budget. I'm just a believer. I don't think they make movies for cheap, but they also just know when to spend the money. There are going to be times, and there's been times where they spent the money. If they do it at the right time, they understand the project, and they said this is how much it's going to cost to make this vision right. And sometimes it's 5-6 million, sometimes it's 20-30 million, but they know they seem to have a good decision-making process. So I think Spawn's in good hands there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. We get hopefully she gets news about that soon. I didn't know this at all, Spider-Man. I never knew this till you told me.
That's a joke, by the way, Spider-Man.
Sam and Twitch were rumored to. Yeah, because like initially when he was because they make like a kind of a brief cameo in the '97 movie, like at the very end when they're arresting Jason Wynn.
The problem with the '97 movie, to be honest with you,
the horrendous CGI.
No, I mean that wasn't a problem at the time. Nobody gave a fuck about that in 1997 because where we were at in 1997. The problem is that Spawn wasn't amongst us comic book nerds. Spawn was up there. But the general public, in many cases, dictated the limitations of what kind of movie you could make. And when I say general public, what did the producers and the studios think that they could translate to them at that time? Spawn was a baby as a character, 5 years old, and most of the general public didn't even know who it was.
Yeah, I think Spawn might hold the record for like the fastest turnover for a comic book character from his comic book debut to have his own movie.
The Crow, I think owns that, but it's right there. You're right. It's right within that 5-year period. But even then, it was like with Spawn, for some reason, the Crow was different. The Crow was able to nail it the way it was. But when it came to Spawn, and that was a little bit larger budget, I believe. You have to look that up. But it wasn't. It was so fantastical that I think the limitations that were put on it. Nowadays, that wouldn't happen. If that movie would have been made in the mid 2000s or the late 2000s or 2010s, you would have had a much more, a better movie, a much more wider appeal movie. But because the characters, like I said, outside of us nerds at the time, nobody knew who the fuck the character was, and that just gave them the license to not, do what they needed to do.
Yeah, here's from the Wikipedia. Some of the financials on it. The budget, 40 to 45 million, box office 87.9. So this is kind of like by today's standards. This is what Williams says. It's like as far as the CBM, it's like if like when he likens it to Godzilla -1, it's like by today's standards, this kind of return is what gets you fired.
Yeah, that gets you fired. That is by those standards. By the way, those standards. Spawn just didn't have the mass appeal. If you were to make that movie now, like under our standards, you'd still be able to. The budget would have been like 80 million, and your minimum take home, if you did it right, could be about 250 million. But it just wasn't the time for that movie. In 1997, it wasn't the time for Spawn. Apparently, I mean, it sounded like a good idea from the comic book geek point of view. Oh, Spawn movie? Oh, because I knew who Spawn was. I mean, it was selling on our shelves. Spawn's first 5 years were some of its best years, and then a lot of the other stuff happened, and kind of like the downturn in the mid 90s. And remember, as much as I make fun of Superman, Death of Superman being the beginning of the speculator and the fluff generation, as far as like false legs in the industry, Valiant was a part of it. Image was a huge part of it. The print runs on these non-DC and Marvel comics are so high. Chaos comics and chromium cover. I remember in 1991, 92, chromium covers was a big deal. It's about to, and by the time the mid 90s came around, a lot of comics that weren't up there had chromium covers. I remember Exo Man of War, I think every goddamn issue had chromium covers. So, but Image was part of that. So you also were making this movie at a time that comic book characters, because at the end of 1997, people weren't buying, Spawn sales were starting to drop and the bubble was popping. So 1997 just wasn't the time to make that movie. It was good for its era, because if you look around the shit that was coming out in 1997, there was,
well, we had
fit
two
right
other
there.
we had two other CBMs that year. They were Batman, Robin, and Steel. So.
Yeah, and those two movies, like I said, I still regret that there's a Steel movie out anyway. But yeah, so 1997 wasn't the time for that movie. So I don't think like I said, I think if they were to make it now, especially under Blumhouse, it'd do just fine. I think it would make a lot of money.
What you're saying there about Steel? Because you've made your feelings on the death of Superman and the Steel character and a lot of the ancillary stuff connected to that well known. We've had debates about that. But even would you even have the attitude of, it's like, okay, if you are going to make a Steel movie, at least like connect him to his actual origins instead of doing like this we just got Shaq in a metal suit movie?
No, because his origins aren't going to be anything that's going to make money anyway. Shaq wasn't the problem in that movie. The problem with the Steel movie is that you made a Steel movie. That's your problem. That was your, like I said, sometimes you can't outrace a bad concept. Sometimes you can't you can't build a yacht out of licorice and then, expect it to float. The fact that you came up with such a concept like that's what doomed you. Not the execution of it. It's the doom.
By the way, guys, this is actually true, and this is I actually Steel is massively underrated, guys. I need to be very clear about that. I love the Steel movie. It was so far ahead of time.
April Fool's is over with. We're 32 minutes past. Are you serious right
now? This is me avoiding another bullshit watch party.
Okay. Yeah, we're not watching Steel. I'm not watching. We're not watching Steel.
Oh yeah, Bradley just dropped in. Yeah, he's good at casting. Well, yeah, let me go. He had a few.
Oh yeah, I mean it's almost 30 years ago, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, no. He was, he hit Michael Jai White and John Leguizamo. They're the best thing about Spawn, because they're legit as Spawn and as Violator. But yeah, just the movie that's surrounding them is just really they did not have a good support system.
Well, and plus, they just didn't have the leverage. It didn't have the leverage. You're talking about making a character. They got good resources for a relatively unknown comic book character. The budget that they got was probably about 30 million more than they should have gotten. How much did that movie? You said it was 50 million?
Yeah, 40 to 40. And I think actually I read it's like they actually initially they started, their budget was 20 million, and then and
that's where it should have stayed.
And it was a lot less. It was a lot less effects heavy initially, and then like the studio was like seeing the dailies or saying, oh really, so they gave more money because like, oh, well, you guys were liking what you're doing, and then they got it up to 40 million.
I don't recall it being that they are liking what they were doing. They didn't. They looked at it, the dailies, and thought it would be a disaster if they didn't.
Oh, so they need more money to save it, kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, it was more like, okay, this looks ridiculous. We can't put this out there without certain visual effects. I don't think they even understood how effects heavy that the character in general is. Like I said, it just wasn't the time for that movie. I would love to see. I can't wait to see what Blumhouse does with this, because it is the time for it now. Spawn's been around 30. Even the amount of time that Spawn's been around, being honest with you, he's still a baby. He's still in infancy when you compare him to Superman or Batman or Green
Batman, Spider-Man, yeah.
Wonder Woman, he's basically a toddler. He's basically like Baby Yoda. Yeah, 50 years sounds like a long time, but if your species lives 900 years, then no, you're still an infant. So I would love to see. And also I think Todd McFarlane, I love you, man. You're my favorite Spider-Man artist, but I think he had a lot more influence on that particular movie than he should have. Todd McFarlane is not a filmmaker.
Well, that's something Ray was kind of asking is like, was Todd happy with the production of Spawn? But I got the sense because he's got if you look at the Blu-ray or the DVD, and there's a number of interviews, like one in particular where he kind of goes through the whole history of Spawn as it relates to the movie. I got the sense that he was happy with it.
Yeah, he loved it, but once again, he's not a filmmaker. It's different. It's like the problem that Jeff Johns, not just because he was an asshole, he wasn't a filmmaker, and he was put in a position. And now Jason Blumhouse he'll sit down with Todd McFarlane and he'll pick his brain. And Jason Blum is a filmmaker, a film producer. He will make the best things about what's coming out of Todd McFarlane's head into something that can work. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't be oohed and ah. It's Todd McFarlane, and I understand. I've been in his presence. This guy is cool, but you're making a movie. Not you have to make the movie work. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to it because I think I would love to see this work out for Todd McFarlane. I like Todd McFarlane not because he's a great artist, but he doesn't give up.
Yeah,
he doesn't give up. He's been through a lot of shit. Shit. Bankruptcy, stuff like that.
To hear him tell stories about just breaking into the comics industry, like that on its own, and then he
minor league baseball player breaking his leg and being sued by Neil Gaiman. A lot of people who went through what he went with the bankruptcy, being sued by Neil Gaiman over all this stuff that he went through. A lot of people, I know people who've given up under far less circumstances, and for him to deal with it, absorb it, learn from it, and continue on to this level. I've always applauded that. I applaud anybody who doesn't give up. Giving up is so easy. So
like again, you see, like, again, he had the last laugh on everybody doubting him because it's like, not only did he break into comics and become
toys,
the dude's got, the dude's an entrepreneur. The dude is legit. Like when he's a legit businessman, like he knows what he's doing, in every facet of.
And he wasn't always that way. Like I said, he even admits I was a horrible businessman because look where we were spending money. But like I said, live and learn, and continue. He didn't give up. He got better. So I love people who are able to recognize that, because running it's hard, dude. You don't, you make mistakes and sometimes you figure it out. You're like, you come to crossroads all the time. It's like, did I make the right? What can I do to better make that choice? Would it be easier just to throw my hands up and walk away? Most people walk away, and he didn't. And look where he's at now. So I like Todd McFarlane. And plus, he's a nice dude. You walk up to Todd McFarlane, like I said, when I was able to get access to Todd McFarlane, nice dude. If he had the time to talk to you forever, he would. Wonder Meg interviewed him at one of the cons.
Yeah, I remember that.
You see how that is? This is a regular guy that will give you the time of day. And he did, and that's the way he was 30 some odd years ago when I first met him. Just walking around. This is a guy who headed into Spider-Man out of his run from Amazing Spider-Man. So enough people knew who he was, but he took time to talk to all of us. And the only reason why he wasn't able to do it at San Diego is because he's this line. You saw that line I posted. This line was massive. It took me 4 days to get through that line to get my autograph. So, but if it was just, if you ran into him at a Walmart or some shit like that, or at a hockey game, I've heard stories where he's gone to Edmonton Oilers hockey games and stuff like that, and he's talked to people just like they were just in his front yard. So I like the guy. So I'm biased. Yeah. We need to knock this TAR shit off.
Rhea said she says she's campaigning for Michael Joey. Yeah, again, he was I think he was a pretty legit Spawn. I felt. Again, yeah, just both he and Leguizamo, they were fantastic in the roles, but it's kind of like, you just wish they had better script.
It's 2024 though. I don't know.
You just wish they had a better script to work with.
I would rather see 2 new actors. Nothing against John Leguizamo is classic. Like, by the way, for those of you who have not seen Off Topic, William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet with him and Leonardo DiCaprio and Cara Dange guy. That's a watch party once we really need to do one day, because I love that movie. I love Shakespeare though.
Yeah, I do too. But it's like, so that shit but that's for this, that's Romeo and Juliet, but it's and the dialogue is the same, but it's in a modern setting.
Yeah, and they're using guns. Like John Leguizamo, instead of swords, they have guns, and so I'm a real big fan of that one. I think it's underrated and has one of the coolest songs by Garbage on there. William and Brad, did you talk about the Blade announcement to start projection? I don't think we did.
I don't think we did. There was some talk about that pre-April Fool's Day. And this is
Yeah.
like this. I don't think this is even an official announcement. It's just a rumor right now that they want to finally get that. I mean, they generally want to finally get it off the ground, but that's their kind of their tentative start date is fall of this year. So I mean, if they finally get this thing off the ground, that'll be a godsend. Obviously, it just blows my mind. It's like Mahershala Ali was announced to be Blade 2009. I mean, to be fair, we ran head on into a pandemic, so things are going to get slowed down with that. But 2019, and the most we've gotten his Blade so far is a voice cameo in Eternals that most people probably didn't even know was him until they went home and pulled up Twitter and Google and saw articles and commentary on it.
Blumhouse doesn't like spending money on special. I think they would for this. Like I said, Blumhouse is not just a cheap company. They just spend their money wisely. And I think Jason Blumhouse would look at this and be like, okay, this is where we need to spend because, it was I'm indifferent when it comes to the Spawn animated series. I thought it was pretty cool, but it just,
I mean, it definitely captures the tone of the comics.
There's some other things it doesn't capture, but I honestly think Todd should stay away from the film. What he wants to do with the origin and changes he wants to make, I'm not a fan of them all. Like I said, I think that once he has that conversation with Blumhouse, then he needs to get up from the table and then leave it in their hands. You know what I mean? It's just it was probably Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is pretty aggressive when it comes to the roles.
Yeah, he's talked about that. He said, Foxx, he's really been chasing after that. So,
but I think they're probably cast an unknown. To be honest with you, I don't think they're going to cast anybody that we're going to know.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, here, this is a funny story too. I'm wondering, because I'm kind of wondering if this, how would you rate? Like, what's the best way to put this? Like, because this is from the Spawn movie, and it kind of made me think back to when Williams said the whole thing about when you get told you sound white, and of course that you don't appreciate that at all. And I'm kind of wondering how a lot of people, if they kind of interpreted this the same way, like people auditioning for it. But Terry Fitzgerald, the character Terry Fitzgerald in the Spawn movie, he's played by D.B. Sweeney, and he, of course, he's white, and the character in the comics is black. And apparently the reasoning why they retconned him to be, and God, this would not fly today at all. But the reasoning was they didn't want to have this is the reported reasoning. I mean, there's a lot of rumors, the chatter around these kinds of things. So you can't necessarily take anything as gospel. But apparently internally, the reason why they made Terry Fitzgerald white was because they didn't want to have too many black leads in the movie because they were afraid they were going to give off the impression it was like a quote unquote ghetto movie or black movie or something like that. It's like
what happened is and this is driven by the studio machines that was operating in the 90s. And it's also something that has affected horror movies, and this is something, thank God, Snoop Dogg was brought to the surface. They didn't think there was an audience. They didn't think there was an audience in us, and that happens in horror movies. If you look at horror movies in general, we didn't get them unless we made them. That's different now. Obviously, you look at where we're at now with it. But in the 90s, for some reason, and a lot of the casting had to do, because you had a lot of big black stars that were casted, in major movies, but they were big universal, like the Eddie Murphys and those guys. Yeah. But as far as driven, some of it is racism, obviously, but big greed supersedes that. They just didn't think we made up enough of the audience to cater to. And when Snoop Dogg started making movies, when other guys started making movies, not horror movies, it's just John Singleton, rest in peace. All these guys started making movies, and they started to see what we were in the box office. They're like, okay, because if you notice, there's a huge difference in that mentality now than there was then. A lot of it's to do with guys like Jordan Peele, things like that. But in the 90s, dude, we couldn't get shit. And a lot of it is because they underestimated our box office power as far as, black people going to see movies. And to their credit, say what you want about their movies and the goofiness of what they started. The Wayans brothers helped with that. There's a couple other people. John Cena. Once they started making the movies and they started getting out there, and they realized, okay, they started doing their studies. But yeah, you couldn't get more than one or two of us in a movie simply because they didn't think that we had the relatability. And I'm like, it sounds fucking absurd now as it did then, but you got to realize they didn't see us. They saw us as numbers. They broke us down on who's showing up, how many white people are showing up. Now, this is archaic. This is how they were doing it back then. How many white people are showing up? Can we cast an Asian or something as the head of something, or is the Asian audience enough to secure our investment? That's how it's cold, but that's how they looked at it then. And because you hear it now, when you hear guys like Denzel, when you hear people like Oprah, who basically, she's another one who helped because of her own production. She had to start her own production studio to make these kind of movies happen. And because they just weren't understanding that, yes, we're part of this whole box office thing, until it was proven. And it took fucking forever to prove it. It was frustrating as hell because look at all your mainline characters. We had 3 or 4 guys: Denzel, Wesley Snipes, and who else? Back in the 90s, that's who we had, and Eddie Murphy occasionally. But he went off and started doing,
Will
Boomerang
Smith,
and all
also
that.
Will Smith, and
That's Will Smith. Yeah, you count 5. I think we may get up to 5. But because those are the ones that were universally, everybody loved Will Smith, everybody loved Denzel, everybody loved Eddie Murphy. But some of these other movies, unless you broke into that, there's a lot of other roles in movies that those guys aren't, more than 5 fucking guys at the time. And then Spawns was one of those movies. It was like, it's frustrating as hell when we were growing up, and looking how the box office. And I remember talking to a guy who was making a horror movie. He was making a black themed horror movie, and he was using my store, as one of the places. And we sat down, we talked about it, and I'm like, we love horror. Me and him love horror, but we're not represented in these movies. Candyman was another one that helped with that. I mean, seeing Tony Todd, granted, he's gutting people with a hook, he's killing people. Yes, I understand, but he's the star, though. He's the star. He's the lead. He is the title character. So movies like that made a huge difference. Sometimes people would, whether they were great or not, just letting the studios know that there's money here. We want to give you our money, but hook us up a little bit.
Oh, by the way, Clint has a bit of a one-liner here. The boat has a hole in here.
Trying to enjoy myself tonight, but it looks like I looked at the 10-day forecast, and it looks like we got rain on Friday. So what's with the rain just being on the fucking busiest day of the week?
Oh, Mighty Rex, I get what you're saying. I don't know if I would necessarily put because, well, especially because of like his career trajectory. Also, it's like from like Rush Hour 1 through 3, that was all he did. And then it's like, I mean,
he wasn't the 90s wasn't his. I mean, the 90s belonged to bigger stars.
I mean, he I like Chris gaps. Yeah, I did too. But he had some. Well, and of course, I mean, you make the amount of money he did off of Rush Hour. I mean, it's like, you can definitely afford to take those kind of big breaks.
Fifth Element, he wasn't even Fifth. I mean, he was. Yeah. But it was like I love horror movies, but growing up, it was just. And I'm not saying that it has to be told from a black point of view all the time, but every now and then, because like I said, the movies that we were watching. That's why when Snoop Dogg did Tales in the Hood, that's why that did as well as it did, because it was told a lot of people were living in the hood looking like that. Okay, hey, you know what? It's not just some stupid ass people going out to Camp Crystal Lake after they know damn well everybody else that's gone there is dead. So you started making movies that were showing it from what we would be doing, and we ain't going out in the woods.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's why they had to take it to space, because they couldn't go back to Camp Crystal Lake.
Well, yeah, guess what? Guess where? And then here, Leprechaun got it right. Leprechaun came to the hood, and that fucking movie is legendary. I love Leprechaun in the Hood.
Well, Ice-T, we've had a couple of people actually. I can't. Reyes says, good watch by Leprechaun the Hood. You missed the boat on Patrick's Day. Yeah.
There's no specific day. We can watch that. We can watch that on Christmas Eve. And man, that's a classic, man.
But I would love to see Morris Chestnut or Shamir Moore play. Oh yeah, Morris Chestnut actually he's probably pretty good.
That your budget is not going to whatever if they're not spending big money. Morris Chestnut actually demands a decent amount of money.
One guy who's kind of on the come up now. I think he might potentially go to Al Simmons would be Shamir Anderson, because I just really enjoyed him when he was in. I thought he was really kind of one of the breakout characters in John Wick 4. So yeah, he might make a good Al Simmons.
Yeah, but I think Morris Chestnut you have to take a pay cut.
Everybody has. Well, if you're working for Blumhouse, everybody's taking a pay cut, and they understand that.
Yeah, Leprechaun, Back to the Hood.
I also think Aldous Hodge I could see, because I really liked him as Hawkman and Black Adam, so he could probably be a pretty legit Spawn too.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I rather enjoyed the new Hellraiser movie, and so I'm good on that. Doug Bradley, born on the same day as I am. I've actually had Doug Bradley at the Sci-Fi Center, actually doing video commentary for Hellraiser. I have pictures of that.
Huh.
That was back in the day. All right, what would William like to watch? Steel or Soul Man or fucking House of the Dead? I can't even. Wow, that's not a choice, dude. I'm sorry, that's not a choice. One movie I'm sad that it ever was made. Soul Man is. I didn't really find Soul Man in music. And by the way, you can never do Soul Man today. You do Soul Man today. Hell, you can't even do Tropic Thunder today. But Soul Man, you try that shit today, boy, they would burn that studio down. But you could do it. I'm telling you, the 80s, for those of you guys that weren't there, the 80s was a special. You could do whatever the fuck you wanted.
Ruth asks, have you seen the? I did see that.
Yes, it's excellent. It's not a remake, by the way.
It's a sequel, but also kind of stands alone. Yeah, but it's not. You don't necessarily have to have seen the original Candyman to have seen the new one.
I think yes, you don't. You're right, but it is. You don't have to, but they made it for both ways, because you watch that movie, the lineage that they give you, and then that last scene was just so. Okay, it's a spoiler. How long has it been out? Because we promoted it. I still got promotional items at the store from that. I got the mirrors, and when you went to go get your so I make people do silly shit when they come get their movie tickets, because I'm sending in the movies. So we took we had the Candyman mirrors. So I had a dark bathroom at our plaza. So you had to go in and you had to turn the lights out and you had to say Candyman 5 times. You wouldn't believe how many people were scared as shit to do that. They're like, can I, they would get to the 4th one and I'd be like, and they would a minute later, they'd say the 5th one. I'm like, you know what? You realize this is not real, right? But Universal wanted us to do special stuff with it. And so we would do it. And then they would say, Candyman, and then they'd run out. I'm like, he's not in there, guys. It's a movie. All right. I was going to dress up as Candyman and have my assistant at the time send people in there and say Candyman. And I was going to turn on the light and say,
and you have the hook in your hand. Yeah.
But they would have probably, if somebody would have passed out and died, I would have been on me. So I don't want to do that.
I wasn't that crazy about the new Candyman, but some of the stuff was pretty freaky. Another Clive Barker adaptation. Yeah, Clive Barker. It's like that. I could never really get into the Hellraiser franchise that much because the Cenobites freak me the hell out.
Yeah, and they were ripping the meat off your bone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like just see that man has like an understanding of how to just create the most nightmarish imagery imaginable.
All right, guys, we're at 1:15. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because I got a lot to do. I'm about to announce our event for May 4th, which is going to include wrestling, free comic books, Star Wars, and burlesque. So May 4th is going to be a massive day. So I got to get on that and get all the stuff ready for that. So. All right, guys. That's about it. Anything last words, Brad?
I don't know. Try, I guess. I'll get on that plane.
I know we're gonna ban that too. So
yeah.
All right. All right. So, hey, listen, obviously we opened up the show with someone, announcement of somebody taking their own life. Whatever the circumstances was, the bottom line is that he felt he had nowhere to go. He felt he didn't have a lifeline to the next day. And that is common for a lot of these guys. They, the connection's not there. The resources that it doesn't matter how many resources we make available. If the people who need them do not believe in them or don't know about them, I mean, either one is bad. So, we got to make a better case for people using these resources. I will have on pretty soon the local chapter chairperson that will be here. Kimberly Buckholz will be here with us probably this weekend as they head into their march, their annual march that's on the 27th. And once again, it's not just going to be me. I feel the need to get somebody else on here who's way more qualified than I am to make people to drive home the point. Because and without it, every time this happens, the point is driven home. But why don't we try to do some work in between and maybe we don't have to make so many of these announcements. So don't know what my schedule is going to be tomorrow. Maybe too tired to jump on, who knows, but keep an eye on the notifications. Please like, subscribe, share, bring other people into the conversation if you think it's a worthy conversation that we are having. We are literally at 50 people across all our platforms right now. With a total of 30 watching right now. Wow, which is a lot of people for a Monday night. So thank you guys all. But let's hit like, subscribe. We're on our way to our 500. We're at 418 right now. So at the rate we're getting it, we'll probably have our 500 viewer by our 500 subscriber by midsummer, and we're probably going to hit 60,000 subscriptions within the next 3 or 4 weeks. So that'll be something else.
Or 60,000 views, I think you mean.
60,000 views, yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah. All right, guys. It's just TRA nonsense. I will see you guys when I see you.
Later, guys.